Hello and welcome to Japanatron. My name is Dave Pavlina, and Japanatron is a podcast about life in Japan and Japanese culture. Let's get started. Today I want to talk about my favorite Japanese stores, Japanese shops. Some of these are brick-and-mortar shops, some of these are online websites, shopping websites, some of these are both. And if it's one thing I love about Japanese stores in general, which in the US, they don't seem to do this as much, is they don't feel isolated to one type of business. So you'll get a store with just like all sorts, like they're selling mattresses, and then they're selling like, you know, cigarette supplies, and they'll have like a cigar shop in there, and you'll be walking around, there's like, oh, look, knives, guitars, trumpets, cool. And some bedding. I mean, you know, of course, the stores like Walmart and those like mega stores, you know, they have like everything. But in Japan, it's just funny because especially in the big cities like Tokyo, there'll be, you won't find these big sprawling shops in the big cities like Tokyo because the real estate is so expensive. So you'll go up. So, you know, you'll have floor number 1 is, you know, women's clothing. Floor number 2 is men's clothing. Floor number 3, liquor store, you know, like just like that. And it kind of reminds me, actually, the closest thing I could find that I remember from back home in the U.S. is the store Fry's Electronics. And we had these in California. I think they're in some other states too, but there's not that many of them. And it's huge. It's just, you know, it's a huge electronics store. But each one would have like a theme. I remember one of them was like tropical, and another one was like alien invasion, and they had like all these like statues of like army men from the 40s, you know, like fighting these like alien invaders. But not only that, but Fry's Electronics just had like, you know, they had just everything in there. I mean, of course, most of it was electronics, but they had like a huge magazine section with a ton of porn in it, I remember. And they had like a big food section in there too, with a bunch of drinks and chips and stuff. And it was just one of those stores where you could just be walking around and you just be like stumble upon some like random section where they're just selling something kind of random. And when I moved to Japan, I was like, dude, you know, some of these stores remind me of Fry's Electronics. And the first one I want to talk about, number 1 on the list, is Bic Camera. And I also want to include Yodobashi Camera in here. I focus on Bic Camera because it's the one closer to my house. That's really the only reason. But it's a pretty typical Japanese electronics store. And one thing I love about it is there's just this random liquor store in it. And it's huge. It's not like a little corner. It's not like something small, but it's a pretty well-stocked liquor store in this electronics store. And it's just funny because, you know, like most Japanese stores, you get like this point card, and when you shop, you know, you get these points, and then you can cash in the points, you know, for discounts on stuff. And it's funny because you could be buying electronics and you get the points, and there's even a kids section, you know, to buy kids' toys, you know, you get the points. And then you can cash in the points on like a bottle of whiskey. It's kind of funny. It's like, oh yeah, I bought a little kid a birthday present with these points, and now I'm gonna treat myself to a big ass bottle of whiskey. And they got a damn badass whiskey section. You know, they got some really good high end scotch. You know, top shelf stuff in there. And I'm just always amazed. I'm like, yeah, electronics store. That's where I get my liquor. And then there's like another floor in there with a bunch of restaurants. There's like a cafeteria. There's another floor with like really high-end handbags and watches, you know, like Rolex and stuff, and some like Louis Vuitton handbags, of course, you know, up there. There's a random drugstore in there. You can get your toothpaste and your mouthwash and your deodorant and your shaving supplies, you know, while you're shopping for a TV. And it's just funny because it's got like 8 floors, and you just keep going between the floors. And of course, you know, naturally most of them are electronics or, you know, cameras and TVs and all that stuff. But, you know, you'd be walking around, there's a little random liquor store and all this like random stuff in there. And I just love that point card thing. You know, you're buying some action figures or video games at one one point, and then you're cashing them in for like, some liquor, hard ass liquor or something. So I love that. Big camera, Yodobashi camera. Yeah, good job, Japan. I wish you guys were in the U.S. That's really cool. Number 2, Justco. Oh, god damn, Justco. I love you. It's now called Eon. I don't know why they did this. When I first moved to Japan, I knew it as Justco, and I love the name Justco because it just sounds like one of those typical like 1960s America stores. Like we have Walmart, and Fedco. I don't know if anyone remembers that. Fedco was the store that got looted during the LA riots. And it's just your typical huge Walmart-esque store. Differences. The deli, the food store in Justco, where they sell all the fresh food, the freshly, cooked food, the take it home and eat it stuff. Oh my god, the deli, it puts America's best attempt at deli to shame. It's just to die for. And the larger Justcos are just insane. I don't know how they do this. You got tempura and fresh sushi and sashimi and just this buffet of heavenly goodness. And I don't know, man. I don't even bother cooking for myself anymore because there's Justco and with its delis. And also, Japanese grocery stores in general, the deli is to die for. But Justco is just insane because it's just so goddamn big. And I don't know how they pull this off. Because there's a Justco, there's a few of them in central Tokyo, one of them not too far from my house, and it's pretty goddamn big, and I'm impressed because that real estate in Japan, in Tokyo, is so expensive. And I have some funny stories about Justco. There was a Justco in Tottori, the countryside where I was teaching English, just like 2 blocks from my house, and this was awesome because coming home from after teaching, they'd still be open. I think they closed at like 10 or 11, and I'd be finished with teaching around 9. And it was perfect because you get the discounts. They do this night discount on their deli because they want to get rid of the food. So they'll knock like half off the food and stuff. And I'd be coming home and I'd be just, fuck, I'm not going to cook dinner at 9 p.m. So I just, throw some, half off food in the basket and then there's my dinner. And Justco was just 2 blocks away from my house on the way home, which was even better. It was between Eon, sorry, don't confuse the name, Eon, where I was teaching English. It's the English school. And now it's Eon, Justco, whatever. It's companies of the same names. It's so annoying. I wish they just kept the name Justco. It was so much catchier. So much more catchier. So much more catchier. Good English there, Dave. So, yeah. Another good story. It was one of my buddies visited me from LA. I was explaining how Japan doesn't really have any public drinking laws, meaning you could walk down the street drinking a beer if you want to. There's beer vending machines, which I've addressed before. So they don't have that American Puritan thing where, you can't walk down the street and drink, or you can't sit on the beach and drink. So, being American, we're like, oh, shit, we got to do this. So my friends were kind of jet lagged, and they were like up and wired in the morning. So we head over to Justco right around when they open, and we just load up on beer. And as we're like walking out, as soon as we paid for the beer, they're just cracking them open and chugging beers on the way back to my apartment. Beer for breakfast. That was awesome. Another good story about Justco, and really what I want to finish with, conclude my Justco section with, is I call this the Justco Gyoza story. Dun, 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 dun. There's my cheap mouth generated background music. The budget I have on this show, yeah. All right, Justco sells gyoza. Now, if you don't know what gyoza is, it's actually technically Chinese food. It's those like dumplings, I guess you'd call them. Pot stickers, maybe, is what they're called. They look like an ear, kind of like a human ear. That's kind of what the shape that they're in. And they're stuffed with like pork and I think this vegetable called nira. which reminds me of green onions. And it's also loaded with a shitload of garlic. Okay? So these things are heavenly. They are unbelievable. Okay? But they're dangerous because they're loaded with garlic. And Jusko gyoza is, of course, heavenly. But it is especially loaded with garlic. I don't know what the fuck they're doing back there. They're like getting rid of all the fresh garlic that they had from the grocery store section, and they're like, oh, this is about to expire. We got to dump this into the gyoza. So they're loading this stuff with garlic, and garlic's good, man. Anyone will attest to you. Garlic tastes good, man. But what it does to you, your breath afterwards, is not good. Okay, it's pretty bad. Okay, and garlic especially, I've read. That when it comes to bad breath, garlic is the worst because it actually gets into your bloodstream. And so when you're breathing, it's in your blood. So no amount of breath mints or brushing or flossing is going to get rid of the garlic. It's actually in your blood. And I'm wondering if this is like where that garlic thing with vampires came from, as fending off the vampires, because it's actually in your blood. You have to wait for your body to get rid of that garlic out of your bloodstream before your breath actually will improve. Okay. This is what I've heard. I don't know if that's actually true or not, but it really does make sense because garlic really does fuck up your breath like nothing else can. Onions, whatever, it's got nothing on garlic. Anyways, I had a problem. I got addicted real bad to Jusko gyoza. Like an addiction, like if I didn't have it, I get the shakes. And, I had withdrawal symptoms and I couldn't stop thinking about it. I couldn't concentrate. I couldn't sleep. I wake up in the middle of oh, God, gyoza. I was like snorting it. I wasn't just eating it, and then I was actually injecting it into my veins. I'd like heat it up in like a spoon, over a candle flame. I just inject the gyoza meat, the liquefied gyoza, the concentrated Jusko gyoza. And there's like guys back there, behind Jusko, like, oh, you want the gyoza, dude? They're closed, but I got some, man. The street gyoza. I had an addiction, bad, and gyoza wasn't really compatible 100% with teaching English, because what was happening was at Eon, where I was teaching English, we would have 2 to 3 hour lunch breaks, because we'd have like a mid-morning class, maybe at like 10 or 11, maybe 1 or 2 of those. And then maybe around 11 or 12, our next class didn't start until probably maybe 3 or 4 at the earliest. And those were like high school kids coming in or something. Sometimes it would be 5 or 6. Evening, of course, was our busiest time because everyone's taking English classes cha-ching, cha-ching, after work, right? Or after school. Okay, weekends, of course, were busy as well, but weekdays, pretty much the busiest time is, into the early evening, into the evening hours, because everyone wants to do it after work. So anyways, with this gyoza addiction, 2 to 3 hour lunch breaks, I was like, oh, we got to get the gyoza. I got to get the gyoza, dude. So I'd head to Jusko, for my 2 to 3 hour lunch break, so close to work. And I get a shitload of gyoza. I take it back home. Sometimes I'd have a beer with that, garlic and a beer, garlic gyoza, chased down with a nice, half a liter of beer or something. And I'm like, oh yeah, I'll be fine. Just gotta teach English. I was good. I was responsible. I'd only have 1 of those. I didn't have more than a liter of beer. So, I didn't do the beer that much, don't give me crap for that. I was responsible. I was a great English teacher. Anyways, I come back for my 5 or 6 o'clock class, and I come in there, and my breath was rank. It was garlic infested, and it was funny because with this gyoza addiction, I was always working the word gyoza into my lessons. Like David likes gyoza or I like gyoza, teaching, I like such and such and all that. And I was always working gyoza into lessons, and every one of my students knew I had this horrible gyoza addiction. And it smelled. Even I noticed it. You know how usually if you have bad breath, you don't notice it yourself? I noticed it. After the first class, in the evening classes, when I was in my heyday of gyoza addiction, I could smell the garlic in the air of the classroom. Because it was a closed classroom. There were no like open windows or anything like that. There was an air conditioner, but that didn't do much more than just circulate the garlic, the rank garlic smell around the room. It got to the point, I am not joking, where students actually complained to the manager, okay? And I thought this was a joke, but the manager actually pulls me into like the meeting room. And she says with a totally straight, serious stone face, David, you cannot do gyoza for lunch anymore. I prohibit this, okay? Gyoza is forbidden. And I was like, no! So I had to go to rehab. And, it was not pretty. Like, I had like, night sweats. And I was like feverish. And I had withdrawal. The good thing, though, was that she's like, after work, it's fine. Because by the next morning, the garlic was fine. It was pretty much out of my system. So, during those evening classes, I didn't have the gyoza for lunch. I was kind of like shaky, and when it was getting to around the, the end of class, that last class, I was like, oh, I gotta have it. I gotta get it. And there were some nights where at Eon, we had to like, clean up the office. It was like my day to do that, take out the trash and all that. And I was like, oh, I gotta get out of here. I gotta get the gyoza. Oh, I don't want to clean this place. God damn it. And it was like a run to Justco to get that last fucking 50% off gyoza. I'd be like loading up the 2-packs. And there's sometimes like there's like an old man, old woman like blocking the area. I'm like, get out of the way. Get the fuck out of the way. And but eventually, like foods, unlike drugs, fortunately, foods, if you have too much of it, too much of a good thing is not good. And I eventually kind of got over it. I had my fill of Justco gyoza, and I kind of, I found a point of moderation, and I got that all figured out, and I got clean. I'm clean now. I'm sober. Plus, after I moved to Tokyo, Justco was not as conveniently located. It was not just like on my way home from work. It's like a bike ride. So I don't indulge in the Justco gyoza. But there are plenty of other, grocery stores nearby that sell gyoza. And there's sometimes, there's actually a grocery store, the one closest to my house, the one on the way home from work. The gyoza is excellent. But, sometimes I'll just, like, take a deep breath, and I'm like, it's not the healthiest food for you, I don't think. Pork, it's technically, like, fried. Fried pork dumplings, probably not the healthiest thing for you to have daily. So, I try to kind of balance my diet a little bit better than that. But there are times at the grocery store, the local grocery store, where there's, like, this old woman, and she is fucking frying it up in the store. And she kind of knows me because she speaks a little English, and she's all doing the, like, oh, welcome to Japan thing, even though I've lived here for, like, 10 goddamn years. And she's like, oh, where are you from? All that. And, we kind of switch off between English and Japanese, and it's a good time. But she's frying up this fucking gyoza, and I'm like, I can't refuse it. Nice old woman. And, and she's frying it up. She's like, no, don't take those. Let me give you the freshly cooked ones. Here's some extra sauce, and she's like stuffing extra gyoza in there. It's supposed to be like a pack of 8, and she's giving me like 12 or 13 in there, and the plastic thing is like just bulging, and the clerk is looking at me like, what the fuck's going on here? And she's like, oh, it's that nice woman, she's got this thing for the foreigners, and okay, we'll let it slide. You get like 13 gyoza for the price of 8, it's like 200 yen for that. And you gotta watch it. If you live here and you like garlic, and you like fried pork, you like fried pork dumplings, gyoza. If you like gyoza, you know what I'm talking about. Be careful. It is fucking addicting, and you're gonna have problems. You're gonna have to go to rehab with this shit. Okay, especially if you get these nice old Japanese women that just want to like fill your stomach with these things. And I know, I love Japan. Hospitality, yeah, I got it. But just be careful, because too much of a good thing is not good. So that is the end of my Just Go Gyoza story. I digress. Moving on. Number 3. Next shop I love. Mooji. Oh, yeah, Mooji. Mooji, I'd say the closest thing in the West to Mooji, and I believe Mooji is actually in a number of Western countries already, but none of my American friends had heard of it. It reminds me a bit of IKEA. It's kind of like a Japanese take on IKEA. The name literally means no brand. It's very plain, simple stuff. Very clean design. And IKEA is not really like that. IKEA is more like very colorful. That kind of like, chic Swedish design thing they got going. But the reason I say it reminds me of IKEA is that they're really all about like organizing. And when you get like one thing from IKEA, it just matches like that other thing. They do that on purpose. That's part of their business plan. So when you buy that desk, you want to get the matching bookshelf and all that. Mooji does the same thing. And they do it really well because everything's just really plain and simple. It will go with anything in your apartment. And if you just Moojiify your apartment, this looks very clean. And it makes it very easy to decorate because you could put like a splash of color up on the walls, some crazy painting or something, and it'll just match everything if you've Moojiified your apartment because everything will match everything at Mooji because it's just plain like brown. And the great thing about Mooji is every Japanese apartment is that kind of plain brown, There are some exceptions, especially with the new Japanese apartments, but most Japanese apartments I've been in, they have the hardwood floors. They got like the kind of off-white, wallpaper. Maybe they have a tatami room. And Japan loves that kind of bamboo color. Most Japanese apartments kind of revolve around that bamboo, natural, off-white, light brown, maybe some dark browns in there. Very brown and green type of natural color there. Mooji matches that perfectly, and they do that really well. I like it. It just, everything looks perfect in a Japanese apartment. And maybe that's why Mooji isn't really overseas, because maybe that wouldn't work overseas. Because, American houses, we put a lot of color and stuff, that traditional kind of Cape Cod look. Japan doesn't really have that. They got these mansions, and they got these, they're trying to pull off this kind of traditional Japanese look to everything. This tatami, grass/bamboo look to everything. Rice paper type of thing. Mooji does that really well. And if you check out Mooji, most people I know, no one like hates Mooji. I've never met anyone that hates Mooji. I don't know how you can hate something that's plain like that. It's just the very generic looking stuff. There's nothing really like a splash of color, but if you're looking to match something that's like really wild, Mooji's like perfect for you. I really like Mooji for that because I'm really into that kind of Zen minimalist look kind of thing. And I've said this before, IKEA, I would say, encourages organization. They have this really cool design, and they allow a lot of IKEA stuff allows you to organize really well, and there's some splashes of color and some really funky designs in there. Mooji is really all about Zen minimalist. Zen, minimalize your life. Everything's very simple and small. It's organized well, but it's not really for someone who owns a lot of shit. Which is not Americans. It's like Japanese where you have this tiny-ass apartment and you really have to throw out everything you own and you just kind of Moojiify it and it's going to look really good. So that's Mooji. Moving on, similar to Mooji kind of, is Tokyu Hands. And it's funny because Tokyu Hands is just loved by foreigners. It's really popular with foreigners. A lot of people who have visited Japan who want to come here, they have heard of or they want to visit Tokyu Hands. And I used to think Tokyu Hands was just kind of like another Just Go, like another Walmart type store, but it's really not. It's got a lot of that discount stuff, but it's got this random like high-end stuff. and it's sometimes just randomly expensive. And I'm like, man, why is this so much here at Tokyo Hands? This thing's like just randomly expensive. And the reason is it just randomly has some really good brands in there. And some of these are brands I've never heard of. They're these like really high-end Japanese brands. And they're not really popular overseas, and I had never heard of these brands, but it's just like really good quality stuff. You know, they get really good reviews. It's made in Japan. It's not made in China. I'm not being racist. I'm just associating, you know, the cheaper mass-produced stuff with China. Because let's face it. It's just really high-end stuff. You know, it's like the made in, you know, like, you know, that whole made in Germany, made in Japan, you know, kind of image for just random stuff. And I'll give you a good example is like Tokyo Hands has some of the best bags. If you're looking for a backpack or a shoulder bag, other stuff, a wallet, they have like a really nice wallet section, and then umbrellas, which is random. Umbrellas has always been an issue for me in Japan because the wind in Japan is really strong. So when it rains in Japan, it's always windy, which just rips the shit out of umbrellas, okay? If you go to the 100 yen store, a discount store, and you get an umbrella, that thing will last 2 seconds in a typical Japanese storm. And I'm not talking typhoons, okay? Because I got this thing with typhoons. You're a fucking idiot if you use an umbrella in a typhoon, because any umbrella is just going to get ripped to shreds, okay? With a typhoon, you put on a parka if necessary. I don't even bother that. You just fucking run, okay? But a typical, like, Japanese, just a normal storm, or just a rainy day, it's almost always windy in Japan. Japan's got this wind thing, because it's an island. And I've always struggled, for ages, finding a really good umbrella that lasts more than a year, and doesn't just get ripped to shit. And the reason I've struggled with this is because I always want a really compact umbrella, which is usually a weak umbrella, because it's compact. You know, if you get a normal, you know, kind of cane, you know, length umbrella, it'll be pretty strong. But I want something compact that can fit into a backpack. And I've always struggled with that because of this. You know, I always insist on a compact umbrella, and then it lasts like probably less than a year. It just gets ripped to shreds someday, you know, from the continuous wind that the Japanese storms have. Anyways, someone recommended Tokyo Hands is your place to find an awesome umbrella, and they were fucking right. Oh, dear God. I found the most awesome umbrellas I've ever seen for sale in any Japanese store at Tokyo Hands, and God bless you. I found this thing called it was like a double umbrella. I forgot what it was called. A dual parasol umbrella, I think is what it was called. It's like an umbrella with another umbrella on top of it. I don't know how else to explain it. And basically that makes it has like a hole in it. So the wind passes through the umbrella, and it's really stable, okay? And I don't know how, you know, into umbrellas you are. I've become a fan of umbrella science. But it works. And thank you, Tokyo Hands, for selling me that umbrella for 4,000 yen. It is the best umbrella I've ever owned. And so far, I've had it for about 4 months, and it's in great shape. So, time will tell how long this umbrella lasts. But yeah, if you want a really random, if you want to store just random high-end stuff, and just some stuff that you can't find in other stores, Tokyo Hands, yeah, I love it. Good store. Moving on. Don Quijote. This is a discount store. It's also popular with foreigners. This one, I don't know where to begin with this one. It's like I guess it's like the 100 yen store, but you know, it's just a discount store. It's not 100 yen, of course. Where do I begin with Don Quijote? It's like if you've been there, you know what it's like, and if you haven't, you just have to experience it. I'll put it this way. People who visit Japan often post pictures up on Facebook, on social media, of stuff that they found in Don Quijote. If you want a good souvenir of your experience or your trip to Japan, Don Quijote is your place. You will find a t-shirt with some weird-ass shit. You will find, like, just some random, like, messed up English stuff. You'll find costumes, Japanese like schoolgirl costumes, those like bodysuits. I got a bodysuit. I don't know what to call this thing other than a bodysuit. It's a bodysuit costume, kind of like almost like skin tight. It covers my whole body, and it's a naked woman bodysuit. And you zip this thing up, and you look like a naked woman. And I went to a Halloween party in the U.S., and I didn't put on a jacket or anything. I didn't put on a wig. I didn't even do anything with my head. Okay, it was just regular. The face and the head was just regular Dave. But the whole body was just this naked woman outfit. Okay, and it had like foam boobies. And then it had like a black triangle of fur, down where the money section, down where the genitalia was supposed to be. And I went to this Halloween party with this costume. And you can't find that in America. And I was quite popular at that Halloween party. And the problem is people kept touching me in the genital areas. Almost, I guess, forgetting that my real genitalia was underneath. It's in the same location. That was kind of unwelcome. But yeah, Don Quixote, that's a good example. The best way I can sum up Don Quixote, come to think of it, is it's where you find Japanese pop culture. You can purchase Japanese pop culture at Don Quixote. You will take a souvenir home and you will show it to people. And it's like, oh yeah, you went to Japan. Here's something. I brought you back from Japan. I purchased it at Don Quixote. It is not something you're going to find in your home country. Don Quixote, check that shit out. Moving on. Uniqlo. Now, these are overseas. I've heard they're in New York. This is like a clothing store similar to Gap. The Gap, whatever. So there's not really much to say about it. If you already are familiar with Gap, most people are, of course. I'm actually starting to like Uniqlo more than Gap. Uniqlo has some just random stuff that's just good. It just lasts a long time. It's one of those cost performance things. Like you like a pack of 3 underwear for like a couple thousand yen. And, with me and my underwear, I want that shit to last. Me and my underwear have a very important relationship. And, I want that shit to last. And Uniqlo underwear, I used to be really into Mooji underwear. But that shit started to shred on me. I had some, holes in it, after some bad farting or something. But Uniqlo underwear is really, I put that underwear through one hell of a trial. And, yeah, it's holding up. I'm impressed with the Uniqlo underwear. Socks, another thing. So far, I've really hit Uniqlo hard on the socks and the underwear. Really good job on that. T-shirts, not so much, because they just look stupid. But I don't know. Check out Uniqlo. If you're a fan of Gap, and that kind of cheap, shitty clothing thing. I don't know. I don't want to say shitty clothing, because I shop there all the time. Putting down my clothing. I don't know. I'm not a really big fan of clothing shopping. You might have guessed. I just hate shopping for clothes. 99% of my wardrobe has been purchased by other people. Probably birthday gifts and stuff. Most of it is still from the early 90s. Uniqlo. It's just kind of like one of those stores where I'm just like, underwear, all of it is just shredded, so I got to get some new underwear, so I'll just get like a pack of 12. I'll just like throw like 12 underwears in there. And I'm good to go for the next, 15 years or so. So, yeah, thank you, Uniqlo, for that. Good job. Next, I want to move on to kind of stores that are more online. These are more primarily online. Yeah, I think they're just online, these next 3. And number 1 with this. Oh, yeah. My favorite. You ready for it? Rakuten. Oh, yeah. Rakuten. The closest thing I could say is Rakuten is like Amazon, but I'd say it's closer to Amazon Marketplace, if you know what that is. Amazon sells their own stuff. Amazon Marketplace is where anyone can kind of join and sell their stuff. If you're a small shop owner or something, you can have like an online presence with Amazon Marketplace, right? That's what Rakuten is. Rakuten is pretty much 100% like Amazon Marketplace. It's just a marketplace. Rakuten, as far as I know, does not sell their own stuff. They do pretty much just the payment processing and all that kind of stuff. They're just the middleman. They just have this massive online presence, and they allow all the stores and vendors and shops, small business owners, as well as large shops, to have an online presence through Rakuten. And the greatest thing about it is it's so convenient. It's like Amazon. You sign up once, you got all your payment information, your address, your shipping stuff, your address books, all that crap in there, so you don't have to keep signing up for yet another site. That's what Rakuten really, that's what their business model is all about. Okay, so it's just like an online store of stores. Okay, and it's great because it's so easy to compare prices for something. I'm often shopping, I'm a gadget freak, and I'm often shopping for computer stuff, IT stuff, or music stuff. Guitar stuff, or effect pedals, or loopers, all this kind of stuff. I'm just addicted to this stuff, these gadgets. And whenever I'm comparing prices and whatnot, Rakuten is great because you type in what you're looking for, and you'll get I'll say, for example, I'm looking for a looper, a brand new looper that's coming out from Roland, and they got like 50 hits, okay, and it's all the same looper, and you can sort by price. You can also look at reviews and ratings, how people like the looper. There's also ratings of the shop itself that's selling the looper. It's great because you could see, you can find the cheapest price really quick. And that's great. Now, I'll be honest, oftentimes Rakuten is actually not the cheapest. And that's probably because they charge that commission. If you ordered actually directly through the shop, you might pay a little less, believe it or not. But man, I will say I actually don't mind paying a little bit more for that convenience. There's also another big factor, and this is probably the number one factor with Rakuten, is like most Japanese stores and online stores, they got the points. Oh yeah, the points. And let me digress for a minute. Rakuten points, they're my fucking god. I'm like a pagan worshipping that like golden ox, Rakuten points are my god. I worship these things. I have killed for Rakuten points. I have cheated and stolen, and I have murdered people for Rakuten points. They are my god. They're very, very important to me. I have a Rakuten credit card. It gives me the points. Okay, I got the Rakuten Eddy. I've covered that. That's like the electronic payment card. It's not like it's like a prepaid card. They call it Denshi Money, electronic money. That's Rakuten, of course. And of course, Rakuten does this on purpose. They make it so that you get addicted to these points and that everyone considers Rakuten points their god. Okay, and I don't know if anyone else. Every shop does points. Every major vendor does points. I don't know of anyone who does it better than Rakuten. They can make it so your whole life, which mine does, revolves around Rakuten points because they sell absolutely fucking everything on Rakuten. And you actually don't need a salary in money, in like normal government issued money anymore. You could probably live your entire life being paid only in Rakuten points. Yeah, they're my god. I have sucked old man's dicks in the backseat of cars for Rakuten points. I've sucked old man's dicks in the front seat of cars for Rakuten points. Joking. Just kidding about that. Okay, don't tell your parents about that. But yeah, my point being, yeah, Rakuten points are awesome. They are my god. I rack these motherfuckers up. And the shops are evil. They will say, hey, we got a campaign going on right now, big sale. We'll give you 10 times the points. Typically, it's like 1% of the price. You get it back in points. And I know how this works. I'm not stupid. They're jacking up the price a little bit to cover the points they're giving you. So you're really not getting anything back. You're just paying more for the points. But man, the psychology of it, man, I'm addicted to it. Yeah, it's like exciting. It's like a casino game, you know? Yeah, I got 10%. I got 10 times the points. I got 10% off the jacked up price. And nothing is better, actually, is when I'm buying something for someone else, or they're going to pay me back for something. You know, I love it with like foreigner friends. They're like, oh, I don't have a credit card or whatever. Hey, can you order this for me? Oh, shit, yeah, I'm doing it. I'm going to order most expensive shit for you, and you're going to pay me, and I'm going to get those fucking points. Yeah! Yeah, Rakuten and their points. Watch out for that. Gyoza and the points. The Rakuten points. You gotta be careful. I'm addicted. I'm still addicted to it, you know. I'm like, you know, that... I've moved from a gyoza addiction to a Rakuten point addiction. Yeah, Rakuten, online store of stores. Awesome. You can find anything there. They even sell fresh food. You can order live squid. You can order squid, you open the box, and it's still moving. It's like gonna ink you when you open it. How cool is that? You order a live squid. I don't even know if I could bring myself to eat this thing. I don't even know how to eat this thing. What is it, like squirming in your hand? You're like biting its head off? But I don't know. I just find it funny that I've never done it, but you can order like a pack of live squid. You open the box and it like inks you in the face, like its tentacles are poking out of the box. It opens the box for you. How cool is that? So Rakuten, you can find absolutely everything up there. Everything and anything. Let's move on. Another one I like is called Kakaku. And this is strictly an online price comparison site. So unlike Rakuten, this one is basically just to look and compare prices out on the web. The one I can think of is like My Simon, if that's still around, or Price Watch or Price Grabber. I don't know if people still use those in the US or whatever. But it's just an online comparison site, and you can look online and see what the prices are going, what the prices are for something expensive in particular that you're looking for. And then it basically just has a link to the site itself, you know, to the online store, and then you buy it directly through them. So yes, you might have to sign up again, which is kind of an inconvenience. But one thing I like about Kakaku is if I'm buying something really expensive, maybe like $1,000 or more, you know, 100,000 yen or more. And sometimes on Rakuten, it's just randomly expensive because of the points or because of the commission that the shop has to pay. And obviously the commission is or the points are gonna be, the fee that the shop is gonna have to pay is gonna be higher for more expensive stuff. So often if I'm shopping for one of those once in a blue moon, like really expensive purchases, I'm going to check out Kakaku and see what prices are elsewhere on the web. And oftentimes I'll find it significantly cheaper, enough to convince me, yeah, I will sign up with this other site and I'll go through that whole registration thing because this is going to save me like $200, you know. So Kakaku is really good because sometimes, like I said, you'll find that the prices are better than Rakuten because I think Kakaku has less membership commission overhead. They're just basically referring. It's just kind of an affiliate relationship they must have or something. Just an online comparison site. So the prices are often better. Last one, online shop, is called, similar name, is called Kakuyasu. And this is an online liquor store. And oh, this is awesome. God bless you, Japan. The way I found out about this one is at my office, we would sometimes have drinking parties, and we have like this large, pretty significantly large break room. And it's larger than you'd expect for an office our size to have. We have kind of like this luxury break room. And I don't know if our office is being cheap or being smart or both. But we'll have drinking parties in that break room. And it's kind of nice because it's convenient. You just finish your work, you get up, you go to the break room, and there's like this whole buffet set up. And then a whole big old thing of like wine and beer and all that. And I asked my coworker, where do we order that stuff from? And she said, Kakuyasu. And I wasn't familiar with the shop. and it's an online liquor store. And what's great about it is, yes, you can order liquor, of course, from places like Rakuten. But one thing I love about Kakuyasu is that they don't ship it to you through normal methods. It's kind of like a pizza. You know, when you order a pizza for delivery, they don't ship it via the post office, right? Okay, your pizza's going to be coming like the next day or something via FedEx. No, of course not. That's what Rakuten will do. They'll ship it through standard methods, and it'll come like, you know, your wine or bottle of wine will come like the next day through express mail. No, Kakuyasu is like a pizza delivery. They have a guy like on a motorcycle, you know, those motor scooters, or a bicycle in some cases, which is funny to me. Some guy on a bicycle delivering your like 6-pack of beer. Something is just funny about that. I don't know. Cha-ching, cha-ching, here's your liquor. But anyways, yeah, they deliver it in like an hour at most. Sometimes you click order and the guy's like pounding on your door. He's like waiting outside your door. He like read your mind. He knew you were going to order liquor that night from their site, and he just had it ready for you. I don't know how the fuck they pull this off. They must have some kind of distribution center or something going on. I don't know how they're doing this. But you order that beer and they are knocking on the door like faster than you can count to 10. And it's great because, you know, sometimes you're having a drinking party at your house, you have some friends over, and you got some American friends, Aussie friends, and these motherfuckers are drinking way more than you expected. You know, you should have expected that. But you didn't. You didn't plan very well, and Kakuyasu will save your ass. You just go clickety-click, and bing bong, you know, you got like a 48-pack of something coming to you. And the prices are reasonable considering that. And also considering in Japan there's no tipping. You don't have to tip this guy. This poor like 17, 8-year-old kid that's delivering this stuff to you. But yeah, it's great. You know, credit card, you can use your Rakuten points, I think, to pay for it, because there's always everything has a relationship with Rakuten. Everything. So you can use, like I said, you can use your Rakuten points to pay for this stuff too. You can use your Rakuten points to order a Domino's pizza too. Anyways, I digress. Kakuyasu, this stuff is at your door in minutes, and the selection is pretty good. You got your wines, and they even have soft drinks and stuff up there. It's just it's like Bevmo, I guess, and they deliver just this guy's biking up to your place within minutes. I don't know how the hell they pull this off, but God bless you, Japan. You guys are amazing. Those are my favorite Japanese stores, my favorite shops. It is by no means a comprehensive list. We could talk for hours about this. This is my personal list, of course. I'm hoping maybe a lot of you relate to this. They're like, yeah, man, I love Rakuten too. I could talk. I would love to make some Rakuten point friends. Like, yeah, man, what's your point balance? Woo! But anyways, more importantly, tell me what shops you like that maybe I have not listed here, I have not discussed. Let me know. I would love to explore and try. There's always something exciting to find in the land of the rising sun. Yeah. Yeah, that's it. I hope you enjoyed this episode. Please, follow me shit. You can go, if you're interested in this show, you can go to Japanatron.com. Easy enough to remember. That will take you to my main site with my blog and everything, which is mondaiji.com. And at the top of that page, that site, you'll see all my follow stuff, my Twitter and my YouTube and my Facebook and all that good stuff. So yeah. Feel free to comment, rate, and review on iTunes. That helps me out, encourages me to keep doing this. Rate and review on YouTube as well, if you're one of those viewers. Yeah, thank you very much, and you have a very good day, or evening, or morning. Toodles!